Hey everyone, welcome back. So you've been exploring these alternative economic models.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to unpack, right?
Yeah.
We're here to kind of help make sense of it all.
Definitely.
Today we're doing a deep dive into this audio transcript.
Okay.
GWÖ, audiospur.pdf.
Interesting.
It seems to be about some pretty big ideas for changing up the whole economic game.
Oh, wow.
Specifically this model called Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie.
Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie.
Yeah, which means like common good economics.
I see.
So the big question we're grappling with today is this desire for something beyond traditional capitalism just a fringe thing?
Right.
Or is there something much deeper going on?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the surprising thing is, it might be way more widespread than you think.
Okay.
The speaker starts off with this study that spanned 20 countries.
20 countries, wow.
Yeah, and not just like wealthy nations either.
Okay.
Places like Germany and Austria, but also countries dealing with some major challenges like Spain with their really high youth unemployment.
Right.
And Colombia struggling with all that poverty.
So a real mix of situations.
Absolutely. And the crazy thing is, across all these different contexts, majorities are saying the current economic model just isn't cutting it.
Wow. So it's not just folks in comfy situations who are looking for like a philosophical shift.
Right.
There's this sense that the system itself needs a total revamp.
Exactly. And even in a place like Germany, where basic needs are generally met, the speaker points to this hunger for meaning.
Hunger for meaning.
Yeah. It's like we've moved from those historical bread societies, where it was all about just surviving,
getting by,
to these modern movements that are searching for a deeper purpose.
That makes sense. I mean, once you're not constantly worried about your next meal, you start asking those bigger questions like, what's it all for?
Absolutely.
Totally. But are we just talking about this like philosophical yearning here? Or are there real like structural problems with the system itself?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The speaker brings up a study from ETH Zurich
Okay.
that looked at over 45,000 transnational corporations.
45,000.
And get this, they found that just 147 corporations have a huge influence over the entire global economy.
Hold on. 147 companies are calling the shots for the whole planet.
It's a pretty crazy concentration of power, right?
Seriously.
And within that group, there's an even tighter inner circle.
Okay.
About 120 financial institutions.
Financial institutions.
Yeah, they're not out there making essential stuff.
Right.
But they've got their fingers in so many pies through ownership stakes.
So they're pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Exactly, and it gives them a ton of influence.
It makes you wonder, does that level of control actually go against the whole idea of a free market?
Right.
You know, one where individuals and democratic processes actually have a say.
Yeah, that's the question the speaker poses.
It definitely makes you rethink the idea of the invisible hand guiding everything to the best outcome.
For sure. And to illustrate this point, the speaker gets even more specific with this example.
Okay.
The merger between Bayer and Monsanto.
Oh, yeah, that was controversial.
Super controversial, right? The argument is this case really shows how corporate interests can just steamroll over what the public wants.
Okay.
Like, think about it. Over 90% of Americans wanted GMO labeling on food.
Right.
But Monsanto managed to shut that down.
So even when the vast majority of people want something, these powerful companies can just ignore them.
That's the point the speaker's making, and it gets even more complicated.
How so?
When you look at who owns what.
Okay.
Turns out BlackRock and Capital Group were major shareholders in both Bayer and Monsanto.
So they were basically selling to themselves.
Pretty much doesn't exactly sound like fair competition, does it?
Not really.
Makes you wonder if we're really in control of our own economic destiny.
It does make you think of that famous line from Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, yeah.
There is no alternative.
Yeah. Is that it? Are we just stuck with this system even if it's not working?
Well, the speaker totally rejects that Tina notion.
Okay.
They argue that in a true democracy, there have to be other options.
I like that.
And as a fun counterpoint, they throw out tapas.
Tapas!
Yeah, there are plenty of alternatives.
I love that. Tapas versus Tina.
Right.
So there are alternatives out there.
Absolutely.
Let's dive into the one the speaker is highlighting.
Okay.
Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie.
Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie.
What makes it so different?
Well, it's presented as this holistic evolving response
Okay.
to all the crazy crises we're facing in the world today.
Right.
It's not just some static theory. It's a movement that actively involves people in shaping it.
Participatory.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference from those top-down systems we're used to.
Absolutely. And it's spreading fast.
The speaker mentions over 2,300 businesses are already on board.
Wow.
Even the first German municipality.
A whole municipality.
And something like 200 universities are involved.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Some are even working with major corporations on the DAX index.
So it's gaining some serious traction.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
But how does it actually work in practice? Are we
Yeah.
talking about like a total system overhaul? Or is there a way to integrate it into the existing structures?
Think of it like a transformation design tool.
Okay.
A set of practical strategies that you can replicate
Okay.
to shift those existing systems
Right.
towards a common good focus.
So less about demolition,
Right.
more about like a thoughtful renovation.
Exactly.
I like it. But where do these new values and goals come from?
Yeah.
What's the philosophical foundation of Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie?
Well, this is where the speaker taps into some ancient wisdom.
Oh, interesting.
They bring up Aristotle's distinction
Nice.
between oikonomia,
Oikonomia.
which is about managing a household for the good life, and kremetsistik, which is just about accumulating wealth.
So focusing on the good life versus just piling up riches.
Exactly. Their argument is that modern economics has become obsessed with kremetsistik
I see.
and kind of forgotten about the good life part.
It definitely makes you think about the purpose of an economy differently.
Yeah, for sure. And this leads to one of the most memorable parts of the talk.
Oh, yeah.
The speaker's analogy of the mother as the true economist.
The mother.
It's playful, but it really gets to the heart of things.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Imagine a mother caring for her household.
Mm-hmm.
She's making sure everyone's needs are met,
Right.
fostering a sense of community,
Yeah.
attending to everyone's well-being.
It's a very different image than what we usually associate with economics.
Right. The speaker contrasts this with the cold academic approach to economics that often ignores things like the environment, ethical considerations, basic human needs.
So it's a more holistic view.
Definitely.
That image really drives home the core message of Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie.
Yeah.
Shifting away from just maximizing profit to a more well-rounded view of well-being for everyone.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty radical shift in perspective.
It is.
It really makes you think about what we even consider economic.
It does.
But how do we actually move from these big ideas to real change?
Right.
How does Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie go from like philosophy to practical action?
That's where this thing called the Gemeinwohl balance sheet comes in.
Gemeinwohl balance sheet.
It's a tool for businesses and organizations
Okay.
to actually measure how well they're living up to their ethical and social values.
So it's like a report card for how well a company is contributing to the common good.
You got it.
I'm picturing grades for things like environmental impact, employee well-being.
Exactly. It assesses a company's impact in 5 key areas.
Okay.
Human dignity, solidarity, and justice. Ecological sustainability, transparency and co-determination, and democratic co-decision-making.
Those are some pretty big categories.
Yeah.
How do you even begin to measure something like human dignity in a business context?
Well, the Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie movement has developed this really detailed set of criteria
Okay.
and indicators for each of those areas.
So they've really thought this through.
Yeah, we're talking about everything from fair labor practices
Right.
and transparent supply chains to their environmental footprint and how they engage with their local community.
So it's not just about the final product.
Right.
It's about the whole process.
Exactly.
How they treat their employees, their impact on the environment, their role in the community.
Yeah, it's about holding companies accountable for their actions beyond just the bottom line.
That all sounds great in theory,
Sure.
but let's be real. What's the incentive for a company to actually do this?
Yeah.
In our current system, profit seems to be the only thing that really matters.
That's a fair point, but the speaker argues that there are actually multiple incentives at play here.
Okay, like what?
For one, it can seriously boost a company's reputation
Yeah.
and attract those conscious consumers
Right.
who are actively seeking out businesses that align with their values.
We've definitely seen a rise in that kind of mindful shopping.
Totally, people voting with their wallets
Exactly.
for companies that are doing good.
And as more businesses get on board,
Yeah,
it creates this sort of race to the top
right.
where companies are actually motivated to outdo each other. in terms of positive impact.
It becomes a competitive advantage.
So it's not just about avoiding bad press.
Right.
It's about actually showcasing your commitment to the common good.
Exactly.
I like that. But what about the role of government?
Yeah.
Could they play a part in encouraging this kind of shift?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The speaker suggests that governments could incentivize companies to adopt this model through things like tax breaks or preferential treatment in public procurement.
Okay, so using policy to kind of nudge businesses in a more ethical direction. What other potential benefits does this speaker highlight?
Well, they argue that Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie could actually lead to a more stable and resilient economy overall.
Really?
Yeah, when businesses prioritize long-term well-being over those short-term profits, it could help prevent those risky speculative behaviors and unsustainable practices that often lead to economic crashes.
I see. So by aligning business practices with social and environmental values, you're essentially creating a more sustainable and just economic system.
From the ground up.
It's a pretty compelling vision, but I'm sure there are challenges and criticisms too.
Of course.
What are some of the potential downsides?
Well, one concern might be the complexity of implementing such a comprehensive framework for smaller businesses with limited resources. Measuring and tracking all these different indicators could feel overwhelming.
I can imagine it's a lot to take on.
It is.
Especially for companies that are already stretched thin.
The speaker acknowledges that they emphasize the need for ongoing support and resources to help businesses navigate the process.
So like a support system.
Yeah, they envision a network of consultants and practitioners who can offer guidance and assistance.
That makes sense. Having that kind of support network would be crucial to ensure that Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie doesn't just become another layer of bureaucracy.
Exactly.
Are there any other criticisms?
Some might argue that this model could stifle innovation or entrepreneurial spirit by placing too much emphasis on ethical considerations.
You can see how some might perceive it as being too restrictive, hindering that freewheeling creativity that drives economic growth.
That's a common critique.
Right.
But the speaker counters that argument by saying that Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie actually fosters a different kind of innovation.
Oh, interesting. What kind?
One that focuses on finding creative solutions that benefit both people and the planet. Rather than just maximizing profits at any cost.
So it's about redirecting that innovative energy towards more sustainable and socially responsible outcomes?
Exactly.
That's a pretty big shift in thinking.
It is, at its core, the speaker presents Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie as an invitation to completely reimagine our economic systems.
Wow.
To move away from competition and towards cooperation, to embrace fairness and a deep understanding of our interconnectedness with each other and the natural world.
It's definitely a radical departure from the system we're used to.
It is.
But I have to admit, it's a vision that's both inspiring and incredibly thought-provoking.
I agree.
It makes you question a lot of assumptions we've come to accept about how the world works.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this so fascinating. It challenges us to ask ourselves, does this model resonate with our own values? Do we believe a different kind of future is possible?
Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie really makes you rethink the whole system.
It does.
But it's not just about like tweaking the economic machine, is it? The speaker talks about this need for a deeper societal transformation. They call it souverain democracy.
Souverain democracy.
Which means sovereign democracy. It's a fascinating concept. The speaker points out that even in democracies, people often feel powerless when it comes to the big decisions that shape their lives, especially economic policies.
It's like we vote, but the same powerful interests always seem to win.
Yeah, it's that feeling of, does my voice even matter?
Exactly.
Like those corporate mergers we talked about. They just seem to happen whether the public wants them or not. So how does souverain democracy address that feeling of powerlessness?
The idea is to give citizens more direct control over shaping the economic and political landscape.
I like that.
The speaker talks about this multi-layered approach. Starting with strengthening local democracy.
The local democracy.
Yeah, I think citizen councils, participatory budgeting. Things that give people a real say in how their communities are run.
So bringing decision-making power back to the local level.
Exactly.
Where people can have more direct impact. But what about the bigger picture?
Yeah.
How do we ensure that elected officials are actually accountable?
That's where electoral reform comes in.
Okay.
The speaker advocates for systems that are more representative and responsive to the needs of the people.
Makes sense. But beyond voting and elections, are there other ways to encourage more active citizen participation?
The speaker highlights the importance of creating spaces for dialogue and deliberation.
I'll see.
Places where citizens can come together to discuss complex issues and work towards shared solutions.
Like a forum for open discussion.
Yeah. I love how the speaker describes it. Like a modern-day Athenian agora.
The Athenian agora.
Yeah, where people from all walks of life can engage in this open and respectful debate about the kind of future they want to create.
I love that image. But for those conversations to be productive, people need access to accurate information, right?
Absolutely. Transparency is key.
Transparency.
The speaker emphasizes the need for open access to information so citizens can make informed decisions and hold those in power accountable.
It's about making sure everyone has access to the information they need.
Exactly. Not just a select few.
Transparency, accountability, participation.
Yeah.
It's clear that sovereign democracy goes hand in hand with Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie.
They do.
They both aim to create a more just and equitable society where the economy serves the people rather than the other way around.
Absolutely.
This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
We've explored so much today.
We have.
From that growing dissatisfaction with the current economic model to a vision for a radically different future.
It's been quite a journey.
What I find so inspiring is that the speaker doesn't shy away from the big questions.
No, they don't.
They offer a roadmap for change.
Yeah.
But it's up to each of us to decide if we're willing to embark on this journey.
Exactly. They've given us the tools and the inspiration. Now it's time to take action.
So what role will each of us play in building a more just and sustainable future?
That's the question.
What kind of world do we want to leave for future generations?
It's something we all need to think about.
And with those thought-provoking questions hanging in the air, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Okay.
Don't forget to check out the episode notes for links to additional resources, including the full transcript of the lecture and more information about Gemeinwohl-Ökonomie.
Awesome.
Keep diving deep.
Yeah.
Keep asking the big questions.
Definitely.
And most importantly, never stop imagining a better future.
Couldn't agree more.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.